Madame Ruth stood at the gate, her hands trembling, eyes wild with rage. She paced, muttering, her gaze fixed on the street's corner, waiting for the boy she refused to call her son. Amos, 8 years old, trudged home, his oversized school bag dragging behind him. His worn shoes had holes, his uniform frayed, yet a faint smile lit his face, a spark of hope in a world that offered him none. As Amos saw Ruth, his heart sank. "Trouble again," he whispered, bracing himself. "Good afternoon, Mommy," he said softly. "Mommy?" Ruth spat, her voice sharp enough to scatter nearby birds. "You dare call me that? God forbid." Amos froze, confusion clouding his eyes. He'd known slaps, hunger, insults, but this felt different, final. "You mosquito boy," Ruth screamed, tossing a bag of his tattered clothes and books, "leave my house now." Amos's voice trembled. "Mommy, what did I do?" "You exist." Ruth roared. "Eating my food, walking like you own this place. I'm done." Tears welled as Amos knelt. "Please, I have nowhere to go. I'll be quiet, I'll sleep on the floor." Ruth laughed, a cruel sound. "Save the drama for the movies." A slap stung his cheek. "Sleep in a dustbin with rats. Not here." With that, she flung his bag out and slammed the gate. Amos, clutching his belongings, walked into the darkening street, alone. Night cloaked the city. Shops were shuttered, stray dogs curled in corners, but Amos lay on cold pavement outside a locked store, his bag his only pillow. Mosquitoes bit his thin legs, yet he stared at the stars, seeking escape. His heart ached, but he began to hum, a tune his father sang when life was warm. His voice broke into song. "Papa, I miss you. Mama, I never knew. The world's so cold, but I'll push through." The melody drifted, fragile but piercing. Nearby, a gateman, Silas, stirred from his post. The boy's voice, raw with pain, gripped him. Flashlight in hand, he followed the sound, finding Amos curled on the concrete, tears streaking his face. Silas stood frozen, the boy's song carrying a weight no child should bear: loss, rejection, resilience. He wanted to speak, to help, but the raw emotion held him still. As Amos's voice faded, Silas returned to his post, whispering, "Poor boy. The world's been unkind." A sudden thud and screech shattered the quiet, shoes scraping, a struggle. Silas raced back, but Amos was gone, his bag vanished. Moments earlier, 2 men in black hoodies had crept up. A hand clamped Amos's mouth, another bound his legs. Tape sealed his lips, rope tied his wrists, and they tossed him into a black car. His uniform dirted, one shoe lost, Amos shook in fear as the men laughed. "This small boy? No meat on him," one mocked. "He'll learn why we took him." The car sped to a derelict warehouse. Inside, they tied Amos to a pole, his small frame trembling. "Sing for your life now," one jeered, leaving him in the dark. Amos sat, silenced, his hope flickering but not gone. In the warehouse, one captor, bored, ripped the tape from Amos's mouth. "Let's hear that voice. Maybe your papa will pay." Expecting cries, they were stunned when Amos sang, his voice steady, "No father's hand, no mother's care, but I've got dreams, I'll climb somewhere." The song wasn't loud, but it carried his pain and defiance. The men fell silent. One wiped a tear, another turned away. "I was like him," one muttered, voice shaking. "No one cared if I ate or died." Amos's song stirred their buried wounds, but greed prevailed. Outside, they whispered, "This boy's no ordinary orphan. That uniform, private school. Someone will pay big." They called their boss, Uncle T, plotting a ransom. Amos, still tied, listened, his eyes sharp with resolve. The next day, they drove Amos to a gated compound buzzing with children. Uncle T, in a crisp suit, eyed him. "This the boy who sings? Let's hear it." In a lavish room, Amos sang, "I'll rise, I'll soar, no chains can hold me anymore." Uncle T's jaw dropped. His performing tonight, Rising Star 2025, live on TV. Dressed in a sharp outfit, Amos faced grumbling peers backstage. "Who's this new boy?" they hissed. His captors, now oddly proud, whispered, "That's our brother. He's got this." The Rising Star 2025 finale dazzled. Josh's beatboxing, Rena's dance, Daniel and Dave's rap, Kim's violin, all shone. Then Amos took the stage, his voice raw, "They left me out, but I'll rise high, reaching for the sky." The crowd was silent, then erupted. Judges wept. Uncle T muttered, "He's a miracle." Amos won, his captors, now his brothers, lifting him in joy. "That's our boy." In a dim living room, Ruth watched the broadcast, her fan clattering as Amos's face filled the screen. "That's him," she hissed, greed sparking. "We find him tomorrow. He's mine." At Uncle T's estate, she demanded Amos, but Uncle T was firm, "You threw him out. He's not yours." Ruth threatened court, but Uncle T warned, "The world knows his story now. Fight that." Weeks later, Amos shone at a global youth summit, his voice a beacon of hope. At a gala, Ruth appeared, demanding her son. Amos faced her calmly, "Thank you for throwing me out. It led me to my destiny." Her outburst was cut short as his brothers intervened, now his protectors. Security escorted her out. In court, Ruth's claims failed. Amos spoke, "She hated my voice, beat me, locked me out. These men, Elliot, TJ, Bruno, Smart, are my family now. I choose Uncle T as my guardian." The judge agreed, affirming his chosen family. Years later, Amos and his brothers graduated university, computer science, law, communication, security studies. Amos, now a music student, stood proud. Ruth, watching on TV, felt regret too late. Amos's voice, once silenced, now inspired millions. "Your pain isn't your end," he said. "Your gift can light the way." Please besties, don't forget to like, comment, share and subscribe. Let me know in the comments what part of Amos's story touched your heart the most. I read all your messages and I love hearing from you in your language too. I love you all so much. God bless you richly until next time. Keep shining bestie, your star will rise too.